Hi everyone, my name is Erin Karppinen and I am a coordinating biologist for Agriculture and Agri-Food Canada. Today I'm going to talk about a project called Herbicide Screening in Spice Crops, which is funded by the Saskatchewan Agricultural Development Fund. The project lead, Chris Willenberg, an associate professor at the University of Saskatchewan, is running a dryland trial at the Kernan Research Farm east of Saskatoon, and we are running an irrigated trial at the Canada-Saskatchewan Irrigation Diversification Centre in Outlook. Spice crops have been grown in Saskatchewan for over 30 years. These crops can provide growers with a rotational break from traditional crops such as wheat and canola, and also help to diversify Saskatchewan agriculture. Renewed interest in these crops is likely a function of the desire to seek alternatives to the traditional pulse and oilseed crops, where disease issues have limited the frequency of these crops grown in rotation. In spite of this renewed interest, agronomic research on spice crops has been limited. In particular, little is known about the ability of these crops to tolerate new herbicides that have been introduced to Saskatchewan in the past decade. Most of the research on these crops was done in the 1990s and early 2000s and likely outdated or irrelevant. So although a number of herbs and spices can be grown in Saskatchewan, commercial production is limited due to a range of factors, including competition from international markets, labor requirements, lack of grower or marketing expertise, and few options for registered herbicides. Nearly all spices are poorly competitive with weeds, and the loss of the herbicide linuron further compounds this problem. So linuron, which was used to control broadleaf weeds in several herb, spice, and vegetable crops, was deregistered in 2019, so now few, if any, herbicide options will exist to manage broadleaf weeds. Because spice crops are minor crops by growing area, little attention has been given to improving herbicides options in these crops. So the objectives of this project are to screen herbicide options for potential tolerance in spice crops, and also to provide data to the Minor Use of Pesticides program to support herbicide registration. In 2022, field studies were established at the two locations in Saskatchewan, Outlook and Saskatoon. At Outlook, dill, coriander, anise, cumin, caraway, and carrot were seeded on May 25th using a precision vacuum planter. 12 herbicides, which are listed on the right-hand side of the screen, were selected for screening and applied at a 1x and 2x rate in order to assess crop tolerance. Herbicides were either applied pre-emergence, post-emergence, or in a post-emergence split application. Unfortunately, the anise, cumin, caraway, and carrot trials were abandoned due to excessive weed pressure and poor germination, but we will be re-establishing these in 2023. So for 2022, we will just have data from dill and coriander trials. For this presentation, I'm going to focus on the coriander. This image here is an aerial view of the field trials that was taken about 7 weeks after seeding on July 14th. I'm not going to go through all of the different treatments, but wanted to show what our pre-seeding, split application, the post-application, and weed-free control plots looked like in the field. There are two blue arrows on the bottom image which point to linuron, which was our previous industry standard, and then the weed-free control plot. So you can hopefully visually see that we have herbicides that worked better than others, and can also see some of that increase in damage between when you're increasing from the 1x up to the 2x rate. Data collection throughout the field season included plant stand counts for emergence, and so these emergence counts allow us to determine variability between plots and is a way of assessing crop tolerance with the pre-emergence herbicides. We also are looking at visual herbicide injury to the crop, which was assessed at 2, 4, and 8 weeks after treatment. We also collected some agronomic data, which was days to flowering, days to maturity, and seed yield. Visual injury is a really important part of the herbicide screening trial, so I wanted to highlight a few images that were taken at the Saskatoon trial, that's 7 to 14 days after herbicide application. The image series on the slide shows the progression of herbicide injury from 0% and all the way down to 60%. So herbicide injury often presents itself as yellowing of the leaves, reduced height and vigor, and in the more extreme cases, seedling mortality. Kind of as a rule of thumb, any injury greater than 10% would be considered unacceptable. So the next steps for us in this project is to collect our maturity data and also harvest the plots for seed yield. After that, we're going to analyze all of the data we collected and determine which treatments will be removed or replaced for the 2023 field season. So with that, I'd like to thank our AAFC operations crew, Barry, Alan, Richard, and Daryl, our AAFC field crops crew, Dawn, Haley, Avery, Keeley, Louie, Naya, and Kennedy, our U of S collaborators, the Saskatchewan Agricultural Development Fund, and everyone who took the time to join in and hear about this project at the CSIDC Virtual Field Day.